Great brands don't try to speak to everyone. They speak to someone. And the best way to figure out who you're speaking to is brand personas. Today, I'm gonna walk you through why brand personas matter, how to build them, and how to actually use them to sharpen your brand, your content, and of course, your strategy. So let's get started. Real quick though, if you need a template to get started, head to my website and grab a free copy. If you're here because of that resource, I'd love it if you gave this video a like or the channel a subscribe, and that way you can stay up to date with all things branding. Anyways, back to personas. When you create real personas, you're not just making a worksheet that gathers dust in a folder somewhere. You're building a map to better messaging, better decisions, and better customer relationships. Personas can really help you clarify who you're speaking to, tailor your messaging to those people so that it lands with them, find new products and service opportunities by innovating and solving their pain points. Personas are really the way to think about that you're not marketing or making a blog post or making content for everyone. You're making it for one very specific person. And personas help you know exactly who that person is. So what makes a persona actually useful instead of just a brainstorming session? There are really 4 qualities that we want to talk about when building personas. Number 1, they should be relatable and knowable. Your persona should feel like a real person that you could describe to a friend or family member. 2, they should be insightful. They should give you real clues about goals, pain points, and buying behavior. Now, before we go on and explain others, insightful doesn't necessarily mean like a spiritual or mental sort of insightful. It means someone who has a different perspective than you. For example, an ex-soccer player, design nerd, Chicago-loving, Idaho resident wouldn't really be insightful to me because that is me. We need to develop personas that help us think outside of who we are and outside of our comfort zone. Third is that personas should be easy to recall. You should be able to remember them without having to dig up the file every time, and we have some tips about how to make them easy to recall. Fourth is that they should be useful. They should influence real business decisions, they should influence design and marketing decisions, and really they should be something that you're referring to pretty often. If your personas are so boring that they don't move the needle, you're not going to use them. And similarly, if they're so wild or outlandish, you'll never work with them, that you wouldn't use them either. The bottom line is that if your personas aren't showing up in your creative meetings, they're not showing up in your marketing, your business decisions, your strategic meetings, then they're either too complicated, too boring, or frankly, too useless. All right, so how do you actually go about building great personas? I really recommend starting with 5 personas and some of these things that you include for each of those 5. You want to include their demographics like their age, their job title, their income, their marital status, their location, the kind of car they drive, some base level things about who that person is. Then we want to think about what their goals are. We're trying to think about what they want and not just the base level goals of like to be hydrated or to be fit, but the sort of to live an exciting life, as Liquid Death might put it, instead of to be hydrated. People are oftentimes just looking for health, wealth, or status, so thinking about the goals that your personas might have is really important. Opposite that, you can think about their pain points, what's holding them back, the thorns in their sides, and where there are points of friction that you might be able to solve later on. It can be useful too when building personas to think about their interests, what they love doing, what they like wearing, what they're eating or consuming. This is a great place to borrow brand headspace. Someone who likes to wear Carhartt, for example, identifies much differently than somebody who's gonna wear H&M jackets. And just by bringing in those 2 different brands, you're already occupying a different headspace, and that can help build out your personas. And then we like to always add a brand quotient, so it's easy to refer back to their likes, their dislikes, and how close they are related to your brand later on. This is just a scale of 1 to 10 about how aligned they are with your brand, which helps you think of them later. So when you're building out your 5 personas, it's oftentimes easiest to start with that 10 out of 10 brand fan because you've been thinking about them for so long, it's who you really want to work with, and sometimes it's just the top 10% of the people you have worked with or the next 10% of the people that you would like to be working with. It's also nice then to have that 1 out of 10, the person that you may have worked with in the past or almost worked with who's the opposite fit. They don't align with what you do or what you're saying, they don't align with your ideals or values, and those people really help to challenge you thinking about how you can grow differently or innovate as a brand. And then with the people in the middle, you want to set some sort of a scale. So you have a person who's a 4 out of 10, someone who's a 6 or a 7, even an 8 or a 9. That diversity across your personas helps to give you insight and also to think about better strategies about how you're building your brand, who you're speaking to, and how you can speak and keep the message fresh across different personalities. Now, my bonus tip here is going to be to relate your personas together in order to create more complex dynamics that are more human. Let's say, for example, you're a B2B brand targeting executive decision makers. They're your 10 out of 10. But while your executive is busy running her Fortune 500 company, her executive assistant is the one who's most likely to vet prospective changes, initiatives, and vendors. So you might add that executive assistant as a persona. They might only be a 6 out of 10, but their pain points and their goals of impressing their boss in order to get the raise, to get the bonus, might be a strong driving factor in how they're choosing brands to work with and who they're recommending to that upper level executive. Having both of those personas in your arsenal takes your brand awareness and considerations and strategies to a whole new level. So now that you've built them, let's talk about how to use them. Once you have your personas, don't just tuck them away or lose them in a Google Drive folder that's not shared with everybody. You want to use them all the time. When you're doing content planning and meetings, ask which personas are we speaking to? When you're designing products or new initiatives, would this solve X persona's pain point? Or before launching a new campaign, gut check yourself and say, is this aligned with what your personas care about? It's also important to know that personas aren't static. Just like people grow, your personas can grow and shift as well. They become a living part of your brand strategy and culture, and you can add to them, modify them, and refine them as you go. The more that you work with the brand personas, you'll find the more that you're changing things or altering things, and the clearer you're getting on who the persona is, which can improve your weekly meetings, your creative brainstorms, and your product roadmaps across the board. The brands that truly understand their audience, they're the ones that win long term. At the end of the day, building brand personas helps you tell a better story, innovate more effectively, and identify opportunities on behalf of your customers. Instead of shouting into a void, you're having a real conversation with a real person, you're solving problems that they actually have, and you're building a brand that people don't just notice, but they start to trust. Brand personas give you empathy, and empathy equals better brands. It's as simple as that. So if you haven't already, go download and fill out my free brand personas template. I'll make sure that the link is below. And if you want to help workshopping your first few, drop a comment or send me a DM. I'd love to hear about the people you're wanting your brand to reach. And thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.